Hi, how you doing? We're going to talk about how to make manifestation work for you. And I'm just going to be all over the place, and I'm not going to try to be professional. I'm just going to talk. I'm so excited because it's working so well. Oh my God. And I want to share with you how I made it start working. And I'm like you, most likely. Uh, Maybe not. But I've been trying for years, ever since The Secret came out, the book and the movie, to try to make it work. Couldn't get it to work. And so finally, I discovered Neville Goddard. Not did I just discover Neville Goddard, though. He teaches manifestation. He's kind of a 60s guru kind of guy. He comes at it in a weird way. He comes at it from the Bible messages where Jesus Christ in the Bible is actually your awakened imagination. And it's kind of on that premise. So then it comes back to your imagination and your ability to imagine is going to be your salvation, blah, blah, blah. But it was like fuzzy as can be in here, because how can the imagination be personification of Jesus Christ? Or my imagination is Jesus Christ? That just does not make sense. I'm not really good with analogy, parable, allegory, metaphor, simile. I don't even know what those fucking words mean unless which one, what's the difference between a parable and an allegory again? Anyway, what I've done, how I made manifestations start working for me is first the overview, and then I'm going to go into some more details. And I will share with you how I do it. I will train you, teach you how I do it. If you like. I'm just saying. Okay. Where it misses, well, highest priority has to do with, you got to say the words. Like, I'm having a great day today. Maybe you don't feel it, but you want to have a great day, and so I'm having a great day today. Or I got the raise. You know, that classic stuff. You say it as if you already have it. Okay. But you got to say the words. Now, oftentimes, if we're reaching a little too high, especially, I just won the lottery. I just made $1,000. If you're reaching a little too high, it will trigger the negativity. It'll trigger the doubt. And doubt's a big killer in this stuff. So you got to start out with trust and faith in your imaginings. All right. So, and then you got to practice feeling, the matching feeling state as if you already got blah, 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 right? It's like, sounds easy. Just do this, this, and this. Sounds easy, but in fact, when you actually practice it, not so easy. The doubts come in, you're not really feeling it. And I've gone through all of this stuff for years and years. It's finally starting to work. And I'm going to share with you why I believe it's finally starting to work. Okay. It has to do with Neville Goddard's style, teaching, and understanding. I highly recommend reading his stuff and watching his videos and things like that. But when you get to the part about the awakened imagination as Christ within, I suggest looking at the awakened imagination, Christ within, more as an aspect of yourself. It's the consciousness that you are, which is a fractal or a fragment of the God consciousness, or a spark of the God flame. All these metaphors, but the I am that I truly am is God, divine God essence here, not somewhere out there. It's right here. But it's metaphorically, the Son of God, the greater consciousness. But it's not the greater consciousness that's out there, it's the greater consciousness that I am. So when we tap in to our human imagination or the Christ within, it's that elevated consciousness. In other words, we are becoming more aware and conscious right now. But what are we being more aware and conscious of? In layman terms, we're being very aware of what we're thinking. And more specifically, what we're thinking in words. That inner dialogue that we have, we always knew or know that, it's better to think positive and talk to yourself in positive and not so much negative chatter. But it's always been difficult to make that a real high priority. If you could make it a high priority, you would put more attention on it and work harder at it. But it's like, well, will it really work? What's really going on here? Is it just one more technique that I'm wasting my time trying to learn and do and fail? No. Because it goes like this. These teachings, let's just look at it from Neville Goddard's perspective. These teachings on how to manifest a better life, Neville Goddard style, is by using your imagination and doing all this other stuff. But it will save you from a life of pain and sorrow, right? It is, your imagination is your salvation. And your imagination, really, it's you waking up to a higher level of understanding. So you're elevating your consciousness to the Christ consciousness. And to Christ means to christen, or Christ is like an ointment, an anointing, and it was used ceremonially when one is elevated. And the King of Jews, Jesus, in the ceremony, he was anointed, literally with salve. It's called Christos or something like that, right? So the salve is the ointment for the anointing, ceremonially recognizing and acknowledging his level of understanding of life and how to manifest. And he do it by being one with God as the Son of God. But the Son of God is the human imagination being at one with the great imagination in the great consciousness, the divine consciousness of life. Ultimate God spark, source of all that is. That awareness uses imagination, in other words, images, with thought manifesting life. So that's a prime definition of God, but it's also you and I at this level of the game. If we're asleep to this understanding, meaning we're not aware or we are unconscious of the power of the word that we think in our head, the very word, beautiful day, words, right? Beautiful day. Oh, another shitty day. It doesn't matter what words you dialogue, inner dialogue, that's the word of God. That's the God spark in you. Now it is playing into the great manifestation process that becomes your physical life experience. So what needs to be elevated is the importance of the word, the importance of what you're thinking to yourself. And then you have to practice thinking more of the positive and less of the negative. So if you think a negative thing, like, oh, that was a crappy, boy, did I have a crappy day, and you start thinking about all the crappy shit, well, in Neville Goddard's style, it's called the pruning shears of revision. Just, you're going to revise the story. You just gave yourself a story about how your day went. It went really crappy. This happened, that crappy thing happened, crap. Now, you revise the story. This is Neville Goddard teachings. And you go, oh, today was a wonderful day. Everything went perfectly well. The conversations I had with other people, I just loved who I was talking to, and they said wonderful things that made me feel good. Now, this is different from what really happened in your past, but you're revising it. So there's a whole, Neville Goddard's got a whole book, The Pruning Shears of Revision, and he talks about this. But this is the power of our thoughts, our words. So also Neville Goddard's style, all this stuff is in the Bible. From his perspective, the Bible, old and new, especially the new, I don't know the details about how much of the old, how much of the new, but the Bible is encoded with these messages throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament. I've started looking, and I've learned how to decode the Bible using ChatGPT. So I can teach you how to use ChatGPT, and you say, Mark, the book of Mark, verse 23, chapter 1, 23, or something like that. And not only will ChatGPT pop up the exact quote, it'll do it in the King James Version or the Geneva Version or other versions of the Bible. It can pop this stuff up for you. But ChatGPT will decode it and then do a commentary on what that means, Neville Goddard style. And what it's teaching you is what the ancients knew about how to manifest, and they were teaching it in the Bibles, and it was covered in metaphor and allegory, so you'd have to decode it, right? So ChatGPT can now do that for you, and it's truly amazing. You are learning manifestation techniques the way they were teaching them back in those days. Yeah, back in the days of Christ. And my theory is they had to do it in secret. They had to encode it this way, because if they were really sharing the true how-to on manifestation, the guys that were totally after the Christians, and they were really the Romans and different groups, there was a lot of fighting back then, and those in control did not want the common man on the street understanding how to create a better life for themselves with this powerful manifestation techniques. So, with all that said, you'll find things like this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That alone, when you understand it this way, you see that this stuff was being taught over 2,000 years ago. Okay? And this word is literally the word that you think in your head. You dialogue. I hope this is a good video. That's God speak. And what that will manifest, unless I don't think another thought, if I just stop that and let it go, not having any other thoughts that influence this thought, I hope this is a good video, then this will manifest in my experience after I upload this, that I'll be watching it, hoping it's a good video. After I watch it, after I see how many people watch it, I'm going to be hoping it's a good video until I don't, until I stop. Okay? But that's the God power of the words. Okay? So, if I pay attention to my words, I go, I hope this is a good video. I go, whoa. Okay. That's the old story. The new story is that this is a great video. this worked. It got the job done. It did exactly what I needed and wanted it to do. And I got great results. And I feel satisfaction and fulfillment having made this video done. Now, that's the word. Okay. So I pay attention to the old words. And I revise the story with my new words. That's Pruning Shears of Revision, Neville Goddard style. But it's also any classic manifestation technique in its beginning stage. So you want to act as if it already happened. Wow, that was a great video. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I feel so good about having made it. I'm glad I uploaded it, and it helped a lot of people. Now there's a feeling state that comes with that. One, joy that it actually manifested. So anytime you get what you want, there's going to be a sense of joy. There might be other feelings of excitement and happiness and all this other stuff, peace of mind, satisfaction, all kinds of things, but there's going to be some joy, right? Okay. And then the next thing you want to do, this will start, if you persist in this kind of activity of practicing manifesting like this, you will experience transformation. And as this transformation unfolds, you get what you want, your life starts changing. As this transformation unfolds, you want to acknowledge and recognize, or recognize and acknowledge what you've done. And in Neville Goddard speak, this is your divine aspect of self. This is you imagining, and it worked. So you're imagining your own elevated consciousness and awareness that what you're thinking plays a huge part in the manifestation experience. So what you're thinking, and you're aware of what you're thinking, this is the Word, so that's the God, and you're the Son of God, right? Or the daughter of God, children of God. In other words, you are experiencing an elevated level of consciousness. So you can metaphorically christen yourself, put the little ointment on there, and have your little ceremony, and you've been christened or Christed, and now you are experiencing the Christ consciousness in yourself. So that's the real, true understanding of what Neville means from my perspective. Other people might interpret Neville differently, but this is my understanding of what this is really about. So we awaken the Christ within is really, it's you and me awakening. Our own awareness expands. We become more aware and more conscious of what creates life, God. So it's that God spark within us, and we're the children of God. Okay, and we've elevated, so we're Christ conscious, at least for a little while. And then when we like snooze out or get refocused on life and stuff, we lose that keen awareness and that consciousness that what we're thinking is playing a part in how we're manifesting our life. Does that make sense? All right. Now, next part. Decoding the Bible. I'm going to teach you how to do this. But when you go into Matthew 1 in the Bible, it's like the first thing you read in the New Testament is this is the generation of Jesus Christ in the house of David, in the house of Abraham. Okay. That right there, decoded. The house of David. David is a symbol of love. You'll find that in the Bible itself, in other verses and chapters somewhere. But it's symbolic of love. And Jesus Christ would be you awakened to the awareness that you are a son of God, okay? And that your word matters. What you think matters. Okay. So the generation of your awareness and awakening to this is in the house of love, in the house of David, in the house of love. Also in the house of Abraham. And Abraham is faith, or trust without proof, strong conviction and trust, faith. Okay. So your imagination, the generation of your ability to manifest a better life through the awakening of the power of the Word, is through the house of love. So you got to be loving and with faith in the house of Abraham. Okay. Encoded right there. First line in the New Testament. Boom, right there. If you know what to look for, I'll teach you how to do the entire Bible that way. Not only teach you how to do it, but you'll be able to do it in less than 5 minutes. Any chapter and verse, throwing any of these stories in the Bible, throwing pearls before swine, anything at all, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, what does that really mean, metaphorically or allegorically, or Neville Goddard style interpretation? It's deep, but it's also very clear in modern day terms what that means, and it helps you understand and practice manifestation. So it becomes more and more easy for you to manifest the wish. Okay. So we're just talking back to the Bible again. The first line, the generation of Jesus Christ in the house of David, in the house of Abraham. Then it starts out, Abraham begat Isaac, Isaac begat Judah. I think that's the one. I forget the details now. But Abraham stands for faith. Faith begets Isaac, which stands for joy. So faith, if you can pull it off, and it's not an easy task, but I can teach you how to do that. Get more and more faith, more and more trust in your own imagination that it's going to manifest. I will help you do that. We will do it together, live, on Zoom, as I teach you how to do this stuff. Okay, all right. So, faith begets joy. Joy begets transformation through persistence. And each one of these forefathers of Christ, if it was a metaphor, is symbolic for another level or aspect of the manifestation process. It's really amazing. But what really counts and what really matters is that it works. It actually works. And you start getting a deeper appreciation for the Word. In the beginning, the Word was God, and all of that. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Wow. And then the other one is the name of God, I am. That's deep too. The God, the Creator, who or what is the Creator of all that is? I am. And that's in the Bible too. And many different people will interpret the Bible differently, and that's everybody's right to do so. But the way I'm doing it, the way Neville's done it, and I was inspired by Neville to learn how to do this, and with ChatGPT I could do it way faster, way better than ever before. ChatGPT totally gets Neville, right? There's a way to train ChatGPT to really understand old Neville, and he will communicate and express the Bible and interpret it the way Neville would do it. And it works. It works really well. And so you can start reading, and whatever verse you pick out of the Bible, it's going to automatically translate it. Interpret it in a way that gives you yet one more teaching on how to manifest your desires, how to pray, how to ask Jesus, what Jesus Christ answers. It's that part of you that is answering when it says, and Jesus answered blah, blah, blah. That's you, like the normal you, the regular Joe you, is saying, well, what about this? Jesus answered, right? That's the shift in consciousness. The aware part of you, the conscious part of you that knows that you are the divine creator, a son of God, by use of your very words, and the I am that I am is God, and the Father and the Son are one. This whole aspect of you that starts getting it, you wake up to that, you become conscious in that way. That's the awakening Christ consciousness within you, or awakening the imagination, thus awakening Christ within you. All that. It all comes back together, and then it's what the awakened you, and you shift into that, and you practice shifting into that, being Jesus answered blah, blah, blah. Read it Neville Goddard interpretation style, and it will make sense in today's world, and it'll be something about manifestation. Okay. So, I just wanted to share all of this with you because it's really starting to work. It's working really well, better than ever before, and it's working pretty fast too. Yeah. And I've been inspired to love God. I love that aspect of myself that creates through the Word. To love that part of myself that I am. Okay. And through faith, trust, without need for evidence, I start practicing as if I have the wish fulfilled and imagining through the house of David, through love. So I have to practice love. And if there's some negative stuff going on, I'm in a hateful, angry mood today, there's a release technique that is also the revision technique in Neville Goddard style stuff. So you revise your negative, angry, hateful feeling into the opposite positive, which is your pruning shears of revision. So you're revising your story from old story. God, that really fucking pisses me off when they do that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, what would be the opposite of being really fucking pissed off? Being really delighted with life. Okay, so then you talk about your negative stuff. You don't have to deny it or suppress it. Talk it out, but then you immediately flip to the opposite, positive, powerful manifestation word. The story revised. And it's like, what might be some of the reasons for being absolutely delighted and happy about life? Well, because, and now you use your imagination to imagine why you're feeling so delighted and happy about life. And it doesn't have to be, it's not true in the physical world in the now, but that's not what you're doing. You're creating this in the heaven worlds, in your divine imaginative realm, and it's true there, and you just assume it's true because that's the law of assumption, and it is true. It's manifested in your imagination, and that's all you need. So it's practice, trust, faith, feeling the love and the joy as you revise your story, release the negative, embrace the positive. And then when it happens, you experience the transformation, the breakthrough, and with acknowledgement and recognition and all that stuff. And not only is it just good practice, but you'll find it when you decode the Bible. Find out all these mysteries in there, Neville Goddard style. So I wanted to share this with you, and I have a training program over on my website, richwest.net. I have a special offer. I can teach you all of this stuff. And we can meet on Saturdays, live on Zoom. And not only do you have it, here or on your website, on the website where you do all the training and stuff and learn, but every Saturday we will be going over the materials and we'll be interactive, and I'll have you doing exercises and practice. I'll be answering questions, and we'll be doing fun stuff. We'll be sharing our wins, all this neat stuff. Okay, so I felt it important to tell you about this, and I look forward to seeing you there in the workshop and the ultimate training system for manifestation, Neville Goddard style. Okay? All righty then. Take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.